What's up, YouTube? I fix it real quick. Welcome to my next project. Yeah, you guessed it, 1965 Mustang. It's also on the internet that I found out that this thing's considered a pony car. Ain't no way in hell this thing will be called a pony car when I'm done dropping my V8 in this bad boy. Oh, I made a technical list just to keep me organized on everything. First thing on the list, big nasty Mustang. What is this? It's not a big nasty Mustang. It's a carburetor catches on fire, 6-cylinder, 3-speed, 4-lug, windshield leaks, old Mustang with a whole bunch of dirt caked under here. I'm still grinding off. Check out this B-roll. Next to the list is engine/suspension. Hey, if there's one thing I've learned on this thing, it's that parts overlap with other parts. For example, the color overlaps with the body. Body overlaps with the suspension. Suspension overlaps with the engine, tranny, rear end, back to tires again. So before I decide on what kind of engine I put in, I need to decide what kind of suspension I'm putting in. I've already ordered the TCI front suspension, which actually opens up the engine bay so I could put a Coyote in. But the logistics of putting a Coyote is a little bit difficult, so just so I can drive it this year, I'm going to put it in a 302 with a bigger cam. Ooh, next on the list, preparing a car. That's my biggest thing. Here's a clip of me removing the vinyl top, looking for rust on this thing. That's what I'm going to be doing right now, is going over this car with a fine-tooth comb, looking for areas that I need to address that I don't have to work on, I don't want to work on later on. Biggest portion of this vehicle that I really want is quality. So before I get from here to here, I really need to get it prepared here. And that's what I'm doing right now is before I really start going down the rabbit hole of restoring this thing and making this thing into a pretty nasty car, I'm going to be doing a lot of elbow grease work. So stick with me and I'll keep posting those videos. Thank you. Like butter. It's been snowing for a week and I've been too much of a wuss to get out there in the garage and work on my Mustang. Real delicate. So I turned the PlayStation 4, Gran Turismo, and lo and behold, they got a Mustang on there. Yeah, baby. Able to mock up a Mustang / prototype that I'd like to build up in my garage. Look at this bad boy. This is the Mustang I think I want to build. Right, yeah.
Footage Factory, here to save the world.
All right, last time we dumped this clutch. Back to my project. As you can see here, a little bit of rattle can primer to protect the roof from the elements after I sanded it down. Here's the fender. Comes right off and exposing 50 years of grime and dirt, which took me a week and a half, 2 weeks to grind off, scrape off. Afterwards, I used a little bit of black primer to protect it, just like I did the roof. I didn't do the shock towers or the springs because, frankly, I'm just going to be replacing them. You'll see here on the left a bunch of parts that have been accumulating over the last few weeks. All those parts are going to be replacing the springs and whatnot. I got a steering column, Willwood brakes, 11 inchers, And I got to take out the engine and the tranny, but before I do that, off comes the exhaust. Here's a sped up time lapse, I guess, of me doing my best to try to remove this exhaust. Tried using a grinder to cut off the exhaust, and decided to fork up the money and buy me a Sawzall. It came right off. After wrestling with the exhaust, I want to remove the linkages for the shifter, and then remove the drive shaft. As of right now, I got the back portion off. Now here comes the snow, so I decided to play a little bit more video games. So stay tuned as I keep on going.
Coyote. Perfect.
We are underway with this build, dropping it off at the mechanics. Gotta get the front end worked on so we can get the shock towers cut out so we can fit the Coyote in.
Oh, look how cute. Bringing the newborn home. Actually, it's not a newborn. It's a Coyote F-150 engine. So what does that mean? Look at the cams. Straight out of a F-150. More restrictive for the intake. Exhaust cams are roughly the same, as you can see here in the part numbers. Oh, believe me, I've double-checked. Before we get started with this seminar, let's establish a few things. The 1964.5, 65, and 66 Mustang weighs roughly 2,500 pounds in comparison to the 2018 Mustang, which is 1,000 pounds more at 3,500 pounds. With that being said, we can now start this lecture. God forbid I talk about how much the vehicle weighs that this engine originally came out of. The F-150 weighs roughly about 5 bazillion pounds, I think. But we're comparing apples to oranges. I digress. It is a fact, as the engine sits currently, it is rated at 360 horsepower with 380 foot-pounds of torque. Pound-feet of torque, pounds per torque. If you've been paying attention, you might have noticed the cams I have. Those are GT cams straight out of a Mustang GT, that's right. Rated at 415 horsepower and 390 foot-pounds of torque. Pound-feet of torque, foot-pounds of torque. Follow me down the rabbit hole for just a moment as I dabble in the hypothetical horsepower data that late nights of YouTube, binging, dynos, and Google searches give me. If you add a supercharger to both engines respectively, the F-150 produces 550 horsepower and the Mustang GT, or the F-150 with GT cams, produces 610 horsepower, hypothetically speaking. And we haven't even talked about the dual overhead camshaft installation process. One school of thought states, if you're going to crack the engine, may as well slap some badass cams in there, specifically comp cams, stage 3. In doing this, you're getting pretty well damn near 600 horsepower. Granted, this is with long tube headers and some upgraded intake. Keep in mind the power numbers for the two original engines are based off of no headers, so there's horsepower to be made. The first idea, which is simple and easy, is leave the engine the way it is. Put it in the car. Headers, intake, the engine might be able to produce 350 horsepower to the wheel, which in a 2,500 pound Mustang is nothing to giggle at. To fully understand the conundrum I have, I must tell a story. I was wandering the hills of southern China looking for Shaolin monks when I met a wise man that once told me, I am not impressed unless your car has 500 horsepower. As I traveled back home, it dawned on me that I never asked the wise man if he meant horsepower to the wheels or to the crank. I pose this question to all you readers. Which is the most efficient, easiest way to 500 horsepower? Drop the engine as it sits? Slap on a supercharger when funds are available? Or while the engine's out, put the GT cams in? Or put even badder ass cams in? And once the badder ass cams are in, slap a supercharger in and create 700 plus horsepower. What do I do? Be sure to subscribe so we can take this journey together. Check up on the Mustang, make decisions on how we're going to go forth with installing the engine, whether it be in its current state or in atomic atmospheric explosion upgraded camp supercharged mode. Stay tuned, we'll see.
Do you have yourself a Coyote 5.2, 5.0? You're going to be hoisting it either in a Mustang, pulling it out of F-150, putting it in a go-kart. Don't use Harbor Freight cargo straps like I used to do. Instead, get this MMR engine hoist plate. Link up somewhere in the description. Click it. Give me some kind of revenue. Get this plate. It covers the intake valves. It enables you to lift the engine up in the air from 3 different points. That's about it, man. Follow as I do an open box.
That's the wrong oil.
Oh, wrong oil. I'm sorry. Try to be a mechanic here. Call it back. It was too big. Why? But you know who does like it? Mike, you do like the whipping the donuts.
Whipping the donuts?
First thing in the puzzle